Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, you all. Welcome to Ignite Your It Factor Part 3, Take 2. So I've been doing this live series on Instagram, and I was not planning on going live here on Facebook in this way today, but I am here because I actually ran the entire, we did part 3 of the live series over on Instagram Live today, and it was amazing. It was fire. I was channeling. It was so good. And I got off, and I don't know if you've used Instagram Live, but you can save your video to Instagram. So I went to save the video to Instagram, and I'm trying, and it just kept being like, error, not working, try later. Anyway, so I tried that multiple times, and then it just disappeared into the ether. And so that wonderful time that we had together, thank you, shout out to those of you who joined me live for that. It was really fun. It was really fun. I had a really good time with you. So thank you to those who joined live. Apparently you witnessed a flash in a pan moment that I will not try to recreate here. But I decided that I would go live here because what I've been doing with Ignite Your It Factor, it's a live series for actors to create next level confidence for your auditions and your bookings. Even if you're not an actor, you can totally benefit from this. But what we've been doing in this live series is so important to me that I'm like, no, I know that there are people who are watching the recordings, who are watching the replays of this, and it's so important to me that they are able to see something. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on Facebook and I'm gonna do it again, some version, maybe a condensed version, maybe a Cliff's Notes version. We'll see how this turns out. But I was like, I'm gonna do it again, and maybe there's a reason that I'm meant to go live here on Facebook today. So I'm actually like, okay, I'm like, let me just like make sure, double, triple check that I am live. It says I am, but, I've been having a bit of a time with technology today. So I'm just going on my computer to also make sure that I see myself. Okay. Yes, there we are. Okay. We're live. Perfect. Let me make sure that it's public. Okay, it's public. Okay, perfect, great. Just wanted to double check that. Okay, so, oh man, let's take some breaths. There is a reason that it is happening in this way, and that I'm doing some version of this again, and that I'm doing some version of this again in this space. And I am trusting that, and I actually know it. I can actually like feel it really deeply inside of me, at the center of me, in my most centered place. I can feel that. I know that to be true, even though when I first was like, oh my gosh, this isn't uploading, I was like, no, but even in the midst of it, I really could. I'm like, I could feel something inside me being like, you know what? Everything is working out. Everything is working out. Everything is working out perfectly. And, it's really, I named this video like for the live, the universe is making sure I walk my talk. And it's really important to me in the work I do. If you don't know me, I'm Rachael Ferrera. Hi, welcome, nice to meet you. I'm an actor, singer, spoken word poet, multi-passionate artist, and I'm also a transformational speaker and a spiritual teacher for actors and creatives. So it's always really important to me that I walk my talk. That the things that I teach are not just like pretty musings, these are the principles and the concepts that I live my life by. And, it's really, a lot of what I teach is through my own life experience and me seeing what works and then passing it along to my clients and then passing it along to, larger audiences. And so it's very important to me that I walk my talk. Very, very important. But it's been really interesting these last few days as I have really committed to, speaking more about these concepts of, today we're going to be talking about intuition. But as I've been speaking even more about these concepts of like trust and self-love and intuition, it's like the universe is like throwing things in my direction a little bit to, you know what it feels like? It feels like to strengthen the muscle even more. So, if you're like working out at the gym, you have a certain size of weights or whatever that you're using. And then as you get stronger, in order to build more muscle, you need a stronger weight. So it's kind of feels like that. It's like, okay, yeah, I am walking around exercising and cultivating practices that promote more of a sense of deep self-love for myself, regardless of the circumstances. I am very trusting and allowing myself to show up in the present moment, trusting that whatever is in the present moment is what is meant to be in the present moment, and trusting that everything that is meant to unfold will unfold from there exactly as it should. I am tuning into my intuition. I am listening to it. I have fine-tuned my relationship to it over years. I'm listening to what it has to tell me, what it has to show me, how it's trying to get me to move in the world, listening to the next steps that it shows me. And there's always room for expansion around all of this. This is so important. None of these practices, it's not like you get aligned, you learn to trust, and then forevermore you are aligned in every single second. No, life happens. Life happens. And I was actually rewatching a video that I made about trust recently, and I gave this analogy that it's like trust is like an anchor. So, with a boat or a ship, like you throw an anchor down and it like anchors it into the water so that it stays in place. Now, it stays in place, but if really big waves are coming or there's a storm or something, that ship, that boat is gonna move. There's gonna be some movement, but it's not going to go very far, and it's going to go right back to that steady spot very quickly because of that anchor. And so that's really what these tools are for. That's really what this journey is all about. And with that anchor, you'll never drift too far, right? And that's kind of what this is. As you cultivate these practices more and more, you'll never drift too far from the center of you, even when life happens. Julie Moret has been saying, like, life is lifing, like even when life is lifing, you will be able to remain steady in yourself, in your purpose, in your alignment, in more ways and more ways and more ways, the more that you practice, you cultivate these practices. Okay, take a deep breath with me. Let it go. And so the thing is, if Instagram had saved my live that I did earlier this morning, then if you're listening right now live or on the replay, this is not what you would be hearing, right? So it's like this moment is made possible because of something that quote unquote didn't work. And I am trusting that. And I'm just trusting that. And when I recognize that it wasn't working, I had to tune in, accept the circumstances as they were. This is what we talked about in day 1 of Ignite Your It Factor. And actors, we will get to how this all applies to your acting career, and we will talk about intuition, but this just feels really important. So I had to accept the circumstances as they were. The video didn't save, period. Nothing I could do about that, at least not that I know of. If you're like a tech genius and know how to find an Instagram live video that was never posted and bring it back from the ether, please let me know. But, as far as I know, that's the circumstances. There's nothing to do about that. So what I need to do is just accept that and know that it's all right. Know that it's fine. 2 is kind of related to knowing it's all right. Trusting it, just being present, trusting that everything is unfolding in divine order and in divine timing, and that life is working for me at all times in all ways. And 3, I need to tune in and start asking myself, well, okay, so then what's next? Okay, so then what's next? What am I being shown? What are my next steps? And that's what I did. That's what I did. And in order to help me to like accept the circumstances, which sometimes the first step to accepting the circumstances is like, you got to soothe your nervous system actually. Also like with trust and presence, you've got to get present, you've got to like bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, get yourself out of survival mode, right? So for me, I was feeling like, okay, this is not the outcome I wanted. And so it triggered like a bit of like stress response, right? Just naturally, because I'm a human. So a little bit of stress response, and I felt that. I'm like, okay, but I do know that everything is working out for me. I do know that. So what do I do to tend to the stress that I'm feeling in my body, that I feel like starting to amp? I was like, I'm sitting by this piano right now. And this is where I was sitting when this happened. And so I was like, I'm gonna play piano. Piano makes me feel so good. And so I started playing piano to soothe my nervous system, to bring me back to the present moment, and to help me to just come back so that I could fully accept the circumstances as they were. Deep breath, let it go. And then as I was playing, something told me, and this is while I was still trying to upload it, it hadn't disappeared yet. Something told me, it was like, if it doesn't work, just go on Facebook and do it there, or do some version of it there. Just go on Facebook. It was just like, just go on Facebook and do a live on Facebook. And so it gave me my next step if it didn't work. And it didn't. But because I had tuned in, because I had accepted the circumstances and not totally like freaked out, because I trust that it's all working out, because I tuned into my intuition, I was able to get an answer and then show up here and do part 3 in a way that you will be able to see it, and in the way that is allowing you to see it now. Take a deep breath with me. Let it go. Deep breath. Release. Deep breath, just becoming present exactly where and as we are. Let it go. Deep breath, just opening to the infinite possibilities of this time we're spending together right now. Let it go. Beautiful. So literally in real time in this moment, I'm just tuning in to see like, what am I meant to share here, you know? Because what I know is that I'm not going to recreate that flash in the pan moment that was the live that I did before. I also know that whoever was meant to be there in that moment was there in that moment. And I know that whoever's meant to be watching this version is watching this version. So I know it's all working out perfectly. And so for me, it's not to be like, oh my God, so then how do I recapture that? How do I do what I did before? No, we tune into the present moment. I'm tuning into the present moment. Again, radical acceptance that whatever it was before, that's done. The people who saw that already saw it. People who were meant to see that already saw it. Trust, presence, coming to the present moment. This is where we are, trusting. Exactly what is meant to come through today, right? Or here is going to come through here right now. Intuition, listening, what am I being shown? And I guess what I'm being shown is like to just like actually go through the 3, like keep going through those 3 steps, just to like reiterate them. And if you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go to my Instagram and those recordings are there. Also, I'll likely put them all in one place so that they're like easy for you to access. So, check back for that as well. Take a deep breath. Let it go. I do have some notes over here. Okay, so I am going to dive into some talk about so the answers are inside of you. That's what we're talking about today. Intuition and knowing fully that you have the answers inside of you to any and every question that you have. You have access to those answers. Right here, right now. You have access to the answers. You have access to the answers. You have access to the answers. Okay, so we're going to dive into that in just a second. Before that, I want to make sure that you know that this month I'm just sharing a bunch of healing tools and guidance and support for actors because I love you and I think what you do is amazing. I know how much you put into it because I'm an actor as well. So I know what it takes to be on this journey, and I know that a lot of times we could use a little bit of extra guidance, a little extra support, a little boost from someone who knows and through tools that are actually effective. Take a deep breath. Let it go. So that's why I've been doing that Ignite Your It Factor. And also next Tuesday, I'm running a live free workshop for you. It's called Activate Your Booking Superpowers. I want you to be moving through this industry in the fullness of your power, in the fullness of the beauty and the wonder that you are. And I know that in order to access that, all we do is get the things out of the way that are in the way. The most amazing, expansive version of you, that version of you that you see in your vision, the version of you like living your dreams to the highest degree, that version of you already exists inside of you. It's there. It's not about like fixing yourself or changing yourself. It's about stepping into that becoming, stepping into the becoming of that version of you who is already alive and well inside of you. And I am going to help you, support you on Tuesday to access more of that so that that's what we see. That's also what this like it factor thing is about. It's about like radiating from the inside out the power and the beauty and the wonder that is you. That's what it is. That's like when you see someone and you're like, woo, you have charisma, you have confidence, like you just like feel it in them. They're just being them. They are like in their power. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Okay. So intuition, Cliff's Notes version, maybe. Let's see how it goes. I'm not gonna decide. All right. Intuition. You have the answers inside of you. So why is this important to remember? Well, because it makes our lives way easier and feel way less chaotic when we can understand that we actually do have the answers inside of us, especially as an actor, as a person, living a non-linear journey where there's not like an A leads to B leads to C. It really can be like, so how do I navigate this? Or if you're feeling like, okay, it's time for my next version of expansion, it's time for a tear jump, but I haven't been able to get there yet. Sometimes you might feel like you don't know what to do. And so then you start doing a bunch of research and reading a bunch of books about how did they do it, and then talking to a bunch of people like, what do you think I should do? 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 And now you've asked 5 people and you have 5 different answers, and you're like more confused than ever because every book you read has a different journey and a different kind of advice, and every person you ask has different advice, and you just are like, okay, now I really don't know, right? So if you've ever experienced that, let me know in the comments, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Just let me know. And as we go, feel free to play along. Let me know what's resonating with you. So I don't want you to feel like that. I want you to have access to these answers because your inner wisdom is so powerful. It really is like having like a GPS for your life inside of you. You really do have that. And remember, a GPS works by showing you the next turn, and then the next turn, and then the next turn, and you follow it turn by turn by turn by turn. Our intuition is very similar. It shows us the next turn, then the next turn, then the next turn, then the next turn, the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step. And I know as I'm saying this, I'm like, but you can like zoom out and see the whole map. And okay, sure, maybe with the GPS, but you get it. You get the picture here. So, I know sometimes you might feel like you don't know what your next steps are. And I've definitely gotten questions about this. When it's like, but I don't know my next step. I don't know. And you might be like, but I've tried to tune in. I've heard this intuition thing before and I've tried but I don't get anything. I don't get any answers. So here's 3 things that might be going on if you feel like you don't know your best next steps and like you feel like you don't have access to them. Number 1, you might be in survival mode. You might actually be in survival mode. So we have survival brain, emotional brain, executive brain. Now, executive brain is where we want to be, where we have like access to all the things and to our highest cognitive function, to optimum awareness, all of these things. That's where we want to be. Survival mode, survival brain is where we are when we are in survival, when we are in fight or flight. And we need that part of our brain to keep us safe whenever there are like actual threats. To our safety, right? We need that. And it's mostly, for if there's something literally physically endangering us. And so when we get kicked into survival mode and all the stress hormones go through our bodies and we end up in fight or flight, energy starts going to our extremities so that we can run or we can fight. So we can, right? Fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight, so that we can run or we can fight, right? And so that means that energy that's now gone to our extremities, it's energy that was going to our cognitive function. So it's just like we legit don't have the energy in the place that would allow us to be able to see everything clearly. So if you're like, I really don't have the answers, I really don't know, I get nothing when I try to check in, are you in survival mode? Are you in survival mode in some way? Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? Do you need to move your body? Those are really good questions to ask in terms of like, are you getting your basic needs met? And a good sign that you're in survival mode is if there's a sense of like urgency. If it feels like I need to figure this out right now, I have no time I need to figure it out right now, you are likely in survival mode. And so your next step is to get out of survival mode. So meet those basic needs, take 10 deep breaths. Ask yourself what would be soothing to your nervous system and give that to yourself. Another thing that might be going on if it feels like you don't have the answers you're looking for, you actually might not be accepting what your intuition is telling you. So you might be asking and you might have actually gotten an answer. You might have gotten like a whisper, right? There might be like this thing that's been whispering to you, do this, do this, do this. And you're like, no, not right now. Ooh, no, I don't want to. Ooh, no, that's scary. Ooh, no, that has nothing to do with what I want, right? Like, and so just notice, like, are there whispers that have been trying to come through that you've been pushing away or quelling or repressing? Because you might just not be accepting the answer. That often comes when like your intuition is like, rest, take a break. You're like, I don't have time to take a break, right? So then back to one, like get out of survival mode, soothe your nervous system. If it's like, I don't have time, that urgency. So you might just not be accepting what it's showing you. So ask yourself that. Are there any whispers that have been trying to make themselves known? Any nudges in a certain direction? If so, you have your answer. Follow that. The third thing that I see a lot is that, I see this a lot in the clients that I work with, you might actually have your next best step. You might actually know it. You might actually be very clear on it, but you feel like you don't know what to do because you haven't seen 10 steps ahead and you're trying to see 10 steps ahead in order to decide if you would like to take that first step. Take a deep breath. Does that feel familiar to you? Take a deep breath. Let it go. Deep breath. Let it go. We only need to be able to see the next step. This can show up a lot for actors. I feel like because there's so much unknown that then there's this tendency to try to like strategize and predict where everything will lead. But we can't. We aren't in control of that. And so, it might look like, sometimes I see this because like a lot of the clients I work with are actually, you're already successful in many, many ways, but of course you see more for yourself and there is more for you. So it's like about getting you to that next level, right? And so in a lot of my clients I'll see, especially when it's like they're already pretty successful, it's like an amazing opportunity will come up and it starts feeling like, okay, now this came up. So if this all goes well, then it could lead to this, and 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 then like that could actually be the game changer. Like that could be like the big break, the life-changing moment, right? And there are legitimately things that come up that this is an amazing opportunity. It is life-changing in and of itself. And if it is quote unquote leveraged properly and if things work out right, it could be the thing that totally changes your life. And if it feels like good to think about that, then amazing, like feel into that, flow with that, that's awesome. But the issue arises when it starts to be like, okay, so then how do I make sure that that's the trajectory? How do I make sure that like I'm enough, that I'm like doing enough, that I do what they want me to do to make sure they see me in this way so that maybe then they can put me in this thing and blah, 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 blah. You know? Or like, how do I, it's just how do I, it's this like, how do I make sure? 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 And it becomes like this attempt at micromanaging the trajectory of your journey and the trajectory of your career, which never works and isn't very fun. Deep breath. Let it go. So instead, it's about trusting that you will always know the next best step. Trusting the next best step. Trusting you will always know it. Trusting you always have access to it. You are not responsible for micromanaging the trajectory of your career in that way. You can't predict it all. You can't strategize it all. You can just keep showing up. So keep showing up, present, and listening. Present and listening. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Deep breath. Let it go. Yeah. What do we do instead? What do we do instead of getting ourselves all stressed out in this way and trying to micromanage? We cultivate practices that strengthen our relationship with our intuition. We build that relationship with intuition over time. It's not hard. You just have to kind of know where to look, which I know where to look. And that's why I'm sharing these tools and why I'm running that workshop on Tuesday where we can dive more deeply into this. Okay, so the answers are always, 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 always inside, and we just have to be present and listen. I'm being present with myself, and I'm realizing like, okay, I'm getting a little bit tired. Like I'm feeling a little tired. I've already done this once today, and so I'm gonna start kind of wrapping up, but I do have a little bit more for you. Okay. So quickly, I just want to address that like intuition is also really helpful if you feel overextended or like it's like, I know there's this feeling as actors, it takes a lot to be on this journey and to balance everything because, you know, you're doing your work and then you're sometimes trying to get your work seen by people and then you're living your life, you know, just the life things. And then sometimes you have another job. I've heard it called like a thrival job, which I love, you know, just another job that's supporting your creative endeavors. And it just all might take a lot of energy and bandwidth. You might have a family, you might have children, you know, it's just a lot. And so it can start to feel like you might not have enough capacity for it all and you might feel overextended or overwhelmed. And I just want to share that intuition and building that relationship, strengthening that relationship with it is a really powerful tool to help you to get some of your time and your energy back. Because when we cultivate these practices with our intuition, it starts to become clear what's actually important. Our intuition will show us what is actually important for me to focus my attention and energy on right now. So if we tune into our intuition, we might start to recognize, it might be like, hey, actually that thing, you can let that go. You don't need to do that. You can actually let that part go. You can actually let that go fully from your life or let go of that way of doing that, right? So then you're freeing up energy and time and bandwidth, but you've got to like tune in to get those answers. It might also show you that there might be something in your life that you can just let simmer. So you know when you're cooking maybe a big meal, maybe like a Christmas dinner or something, and you've got like a bunch of things on the stove and you're like actively, you know, putting all the spices in this one, but then you've got something and got like potatoes and on the back burner, they're boiling. Okay, that's not a good example because you don't put those on simmer, I think they boil, but whatever. You might, maybe you're making soup, you're making a stew and you put everything in the stew and you put it in the back and you then put it on simmer for it to continue cooking, right? Sometimes we have all of these different things that we're juggling in our lives, and sometimes it's okay to focus our main attention on one thing, the majority of our primary attention on one thing, and have something in the background just on simmer. We don't have to actively engage with it at that time, but we know that because it's on simmer, it's still cooking. So we can actually take eyes off it and know it will continue to expand simply by the stove being on. And the stove being on is just you continuing to show up in your life. If that is the thing that's important to you and you've put some things in place, like then there are times when you just continuing to show up in your life will actually allow that thing to continue to expand, even if your eyes and your attention is not on it. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Also, in getting in the practice of tuning into intuition, in relationship to the bandwidth capacity conversation, you might find that you're able to start releasing urgency. Your intuition might show you there actually is not urgency around this thing that you have been viewing as urgent. You can actually let go. You've actually maybe been in a bit of like that survival brain around that thing when you don't need to be. So you can release the urgency, and that in and of itself will free up time, energy, and bandwidth. I really feel like intuition and like these practices, all of them, and especially learning to tune into your intuition in this way and really using it, saves you time and energy. I had a client that I was working with. She's amazing. And she's a creative, she runs a business, she's a mom, and we were working together, and she was like, oh my God, we were like really like getting like super focused on her intuition and helping her to like leverage that. And she was like, oh my gosh, intuition is a time management strategy. It's a time management strategy. So sometimes people are like, I don't have time for this kind of like internal work or whatever. I don't have time for that. There's all this other stuff that I have to tend to. It's like, no, my friend, it's the opposite. If you make time for this, you will free up time in other areas of your life, and you will free up energy and bandwidth, and it will be wonderful. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Okay. All right, let's do a quick exercise, and then we're going to wrap it up. So if you can do so safely, if you're not operating heavy machinery or driving a car or anything like that, and you can do so safely, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Deep breath in. Let it go. Maybe place a hand on your heart if that feels good. Deep breath in. Let it go. Tuning into yourself. Imagining that you can connect to the highest version of yourself. What if you could connect to the highest version of yourself? The version of yourself that is connected to the all that is. That feels. And as you tune into this higher part of yourself, just let everything else fall away. Let all the shoulds and supposed tos fall away. Let all the strategies fall away. Let all the, you should do it this way, you're meant to do it this way, but this is quote unquote how you do it. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. And just allow yourself to be connected to the highest version of yourself that is connected to all that is. Deep breath. Really. And now I invite you to gently, ever so gently ask your higher self, what does it know to be true about your acting career? What does it know to be true about your acting career? And don't force, don't push, just notice what comes up. Observe, deep breath. What does your higher self know to be true about your acting career? It might be an image, it might be a feeling, it might be a picture, it might be a color, it might be a moving image. It might be a quote, it might be a memory. What does it know to be true about your acting career? This can be anything. Let it feel good. Let the knowing feel good. And then from this space, ask your higher self, part of me that is connected to all that is, what is my next best step towards what I desire in my acting career, in my creative career? What is my best next step? Opening up to whatever answer flows in. It might be something that seems totally unrelated. It might be take a nap. It might be call a friend. It might be go outside. Earlier, one of the people on live said, just go. It was just go. Someone else said, go be with my family. Go home and be with my family. What does your higher self say? What is that best next step? Deep breath. Release. One more deep breath. Let it go. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Good. I would love to hear from you, whether you're live or watching on the replay. What came up for you? What does your highest self know to be true about your acting career? And what is your best next step to, what's the next best step towards what you desire in your career? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to send me a direct message as well if you aren't wanting to share publicly. My DMs are open. Yeah, if you just make this a practice to check in that way, that was just like maybe 2 minutes that we just did, right? And we're going to go deeper into all of this work, like I said, on Tuesday at my free workshop, Activate Your Booking Superpowers. We're going to dive deeper into more of these tools, into more of this healing, to more of this guidance, so that you can be tuned into more of you. It's going to be really beautiful. Tuesday, June 14th. Join me. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific. You do have to register. You have to sign up. There will be a replay, but you have to register in order to get the replay. Go to rachaelferrera.com/activate, and that will take you to register. So do that. You can also go to the link in my bio to do that. You can, I'd love to hear what's coming up from you. So you can, I'll share a story in my Instagram stories. I'll share a graphic that you can fill out with the answers to what came up for you in our little exercise today. So you can go screenshot it and then fill it out with your answers for what does your higher self know to be true and what is your next best step. I really want to like normalize like this idea of tuning into our intuition, and for sometimes the next best step's not to be like super like linear or like productive, and it might be something super tangible that came up for you. That's perfect as well. But I do want to normalize like tuning into the intuition, so you can help me do that by sharing in your stories. Yeah, I'll share mine as well. And if you do that, tag me for sure. And again, if you don't want to share publicly, but you were moved by this, or there's a takeaway that you want to share privately, please send me a DM. Seriously, I'll be checking. Okay, register for the workshop. And if you want to catch up on part 1 or 2 of this, go to my Instagram at the Rachael Ferrera, go to my profile, and those replays are available in an IG series called Ignite Your It Factor. I'll likely also be putting these all on one page together so that it's just easy to find. So check in, as I said earlier, about that. And most of all, I want to see you next week at the workshop. I would love to spend some time in the room with you on Zoom. We'll be live together, and it's really going to feel beautiful, like a sacred healing circle of actors and artists. And yeah, I'll be able to see your faces if you want me to, and hear your voices if you want me to. And you'll have time and space to ask questions as well. And I'm just really looking forward to that. So join me for Activate Your Booking Superpowers. Go register now so you don't forget. I know for me, sometimes I'm like, I want to do that, and then it totally slips my mind. So go sign up for that right now, rachaelferrera.com/activate, or go to the link in my bio. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for Ignite Your It Factor. This has been such a joy. I will be continuing to share more healing tools in the next week or 2. So stay tuned. I love you so much. Love yourself. Accept your circumstances, get present, trust exactly the way and the timing in which things are unfolding, tune into your intuition, ask it your next best steps. That's really what you need to know. All right, I love you. Bye.